Chapter 18. My legs are a little wobbly as I make my way down the bleachers and across the parking lot to the concessions. In the background, I hear the MC saying, and we'll be back after a 15-minute break to have our competition round for the Little Miss division. I need water. My throat feels like I've gargled with sand. Communing with nature is tiring stuff. Ooh. Bumping into people, I make my way around the food wagons. I probably look like a drunken sailor coming off a 3-week bender. Avast, ye mateys. The crowd parts and I head to quench my thirst. Walking past the concession stands, I wave to Berta, who is working at the burger stand. Her spiked hair looks like a porcupine quill on steroids. Leaning on the counter, I order a bottle of water from her. So what do you think of your first powwow, Apple? Well, it's just about the coolest thing I've ever seen. Wait, I mean, it's the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. She nods in agreement, gnawing on a big pickle. Looking around, Berta asks, So who all came with you? My head is still in the clouds, so I don't hear her the first time. Clearing her throat, she repeats, So, who's with you here? Oh, the usual. Grandpa, Grandma, Nezzy, and Junior? She asks with one eyebrow hovering on her peaked forehead. I'm still not with it in the brain department, but I answer, not really looking at her. Yeah, he's somewhere around here. Berta's mouth is open, with juicy pickle parts on her tongue, as if she's just about to say something more, but I continue. Hey, what's that thing I heard the MC say? Something about the competition? Little Miss competition? Oh yeah, that's the dance contest, but for little kids. Starts at 2 o'clock. I grab my bottle of water from her. Okay, thanks. I'll bet that's the one Nezzy's in. I want to be sure to get back in time. Glancing at my watch, I figure I have 10 more minutes. Thanking her again for the water, I walk around a bit, gulping it greedily. Ah, sweet aqua. I pour a little over my head and drench my sweat. There's a shady area I see by the parking lot, so I walk over to seek some shelter from the heat. I still can't believe what just happened to me back at the powwow. Did it really happen? Yes, I giggle to myself, it really did. And once I start to chuckle, it comes out in great torrents of laughter, raining straight from my heart. I lose my balance and lean back on a card to steady myself. My eyes close and my head upturned. I just continue smiling and laughing. Instead of a cool breeze fanning my face, now there's a waft of stench, the same one that filled my childhood. Alcohol. Whiskey. Judy's influence helped my dad get some help with his addiction. But where's that smell coming from now? Well, looks like we've got ourselves a rotten apple here, boys, a gravelly voice says from right behind me. I know that voice, and it yanks me back from my thoughts. Quickly, my eyes open, my head swings around only to find that the truck I'm leaning on is silver, the same one I've seen following me around town. Carl's truck. And it seems that I'm only 2 feet from him. Sounds like she's going crazy laughing like that. What do you think, fellas? With her rich daddy, she might need to buy some therapy. As I spin completely around, I come face to face with Carl. He's sitting in the bed of his truck with 3 or 4 men. His 2 oldest boys are sitting in the truck cab. There's a paper bag wrapped around the bottle they're passing around, and Carl's got a grin as big as the Cheshire Cat. Ha, that girl comes from a long line of crackpots, the guy Carl's left says, as he elbows another man. Carl, I'm just getting some air. I spit out while I'm trying slowly to back up. But I back up right into a tree trunk. There's nowhere to go. Carl has a knife in his hand, and he's carving something. Why, you're out here pretty far from everything, girl. His eyes search over his shoulder and then sit back on me. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You ain't scared, are ya? Continuing to wield his knife, he slices the thing in his hand. and eats it straight off the blade. It takes every bit of courage, but I have to do something. I need to now. I need to know. Have you have you been leaving things for me, giving me things back at my grandparents' house? In my head, it sounds like I'm yelling, but I know I'm just above a whisper. He spits out what he's eating. Ha ha ha. Just what am I leaving you, huh? Carl takes a swig of his whiskey. The other men continue passing around the bottle, but one guy touches his arm and shakes his head. Leave her be. She ain't her ma. Carl shoves him hard enough so the man stumbles out of the truck bed. I tell you what I'm giving you now, Apple. A warning. I'm warning you again, and here it is. I want what your mama owes me. He squints in the sunlight, but he's staring right at my neck. That fancy face of yours might just be worth something. I covered the gold sunflower-shaped necklace with my hand like it's actually keeping me from falling over, like it's what's keeping me alive. My dad gave me this last Christmas. He never really said what the design means. I have no idea what it's worth, but I know I'll never give it away, especially to Carl. The sunlight bounces off Carl's black hair. His cheeks are ruddy red of a drinker. It's then that I notice that he's been slicing and eating. It's an apple. And there's a glimmer of recognition in his dusky eyes that frightens me. Wait, that's symbolism, right? Him eating an apple? Or is that a synonym? Oh, why didn't I pay better attention in English class? Let me think. Synonym means the same. Or is it cinnamon for insane? Bubbling down in my throat, I feel a familiar sensation. I can feel a question, an odd question rising, and it's just on the tip of my tongue. Carl, when's the last time you were at... From out of nowhere, the sun is blocked out. A massive midsection stands between me and the silver truck. For a minute, I think it's Carl blocking out the world, but it's a giant. What the heck, man? You know there's no liquor at the powwow grounds? Junior's enormous arm grips the bottle from Carl's hand and throws it behind the trees. I peek from behind Junior's back and notice the rest of the men have run off, leaving only one man there, my nightmare. Oh, Junior, yeah, man, I knew that. Some of the boys, brung it, and Carl jumps down from his truck and grabs his cowboy hat that fell to the ground. Junior doesn't even wait for him to finish talking. The red road, Carl. Follow the red road. That's all he says. He gently takes a hold of my elbow and leads me from evil. I turn around knowing I shouldn't, and Carl is staring at me. His lips twist into a half smile, and it makes my fear whole. His two sons spit on the ground and follow Carl back to the truck. After we're a good 50 feet away, Junior only says, "Come on, Nezzy's competition starts in a few." I yank my arm from him. Junior, didn't you see what was going on back there? Carl, he almost... Stopping mid-stride, he turns to me. Yeah, I saw it. Carl's just don't get enough sense to leave it alone. But he's all talk. Don't worry about him. Tears start to slip down my face. I reach for Junior to lean on his shoulder, but instead end up getting blocked by his gut. My body is bent over at my waist, and my head is resting on his stomach, which feels like a mushy countertop. Oh, now, Junior pats my head. Apple, don't worry. You're all right. I lift my head up and stare. He wipes my tears, then tilts his head and holds out his sausage-sized finger, saying, "Pull my finger." And his face breaks out in a huge grin. Junior, how can you joke at a time? I can't even finish because my shoulders start to shake. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at this great beast in front of me. How does he thaw my fright so fast? We both walk back to watch Nezzy. As we cut through the concession stands, Berta yells out, "Hey, Junior! Apple, hi!" She's waving wildly. "You want a burger? I can make you a double." Waving her off, he replies, "No tanks." Oh, Junior, how can you be so fearless, but so completely clueless? I tug at his sleeve. You know that she's actually totally crushing on you, don't you? He looks at me like I'm speaking Russian. Niet? Looking between me and then back at Berta, Junior's eyebrows start to furrow. I can see a giant question mark above his head. Berta? Me? How do you know that? A girl knows, trust me. He looks down at himself, his belly, then shakes his head, his dark hair falling from side to side. But well, you know. Oh, Junior, I say softly. You're one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met. That's what caught Berta's eye. The rest is just a bonus. There's a softness that comes over his eyes. We hear the MC announce, "The little missus should come to the dance circle." He takes one quick look back at Berta and smiles to himself. Before we reach the bleachers, I turn back and ask him, "Junior, what was that thing you said back there to Carl? Follow the yellow brick road?" He spits the water he's been drinking and hoots, "Ha! No, we're not talking the Wizard of Oz with Dorothy and the Tin Man. I just reminded Carl of the Red Road. It means for Indian people to walk on a right, straight, and sober path in life. A clean body, mind, and spirit. I know alcohol has had a really horrible impact on Native people. I know how kids suffer because even though my dad is white, alcoholism messed up his ability to feel. I like this red road. I'm going to tell my dad about this. But maybe my mom already told him about it. Did you, Mom? I shrug my shoulders. Maybe I still don't understand everything, but I know now that's okay. I'll never forget my experience here. Nothing can cloud that, not even Carl. Hey, Apple? Yeah, Junior? Watch out for those flying monkeys. Nezzy dances her little heart out with the other little girls in the competition. Her fringed shawl takes flight, and she leads our eyes around the dance circle. Taking a step to each drumbeat, she is a blur of pink. I have no idea how they would pick the prize for the most skilled dancers. Of course, I know who I would pick. Jeff is down singing in a drum group. You can't hear his voice independently, but Nezzy smiles at him. At least she gets to see him sing. The competition ends, and the MC calls for the little kids to go back and sit with their families and wait for the winner to be announced. We all hug her as she reaches us. Her little fingers are kneading my knuckles. She's nervous, waiting for the results. We all are. And it was tough, folks, to decide, the MC says. But here we go. Third place goes to Little Annie LaRock. Second goes to Kimberly Redbird. And first place, our new little Miss Princess, goes to Cattery Azure. Oh, wait, folks. Let's not forget our honorable mention, Nezzy LaBelle. Our heads whip up to see Nezzy, to comfort her in her loss. How could she not have won first place? Her face is in her hands. Grandpa pats her leg. Oh, Nezzy. I start to put my arms around her when I see her pull up her face. Tears are streaking down, spilling onto her pink outfit. I would ease all the good that happened to me today if I could just make her stop crying. Apple, did you hear? Did you hear that? She whispers incredulously, her eyes as large as saucers. I won honorable mention. With that, she jumps up on Grandpa with her hands pumping in the sky. Wow! Her smile lights the sun. It's better to be honorable instead of just first place, isn't it? I can hear her echoing Mushim's way of saying dat. Grandpa replies, Dat's right, Nezzy. It's the best thing you can be. We stay for the rest of the afternoon, taking breaks to watch the dancers eat and visit with everyone. I don't want the day to end, but the crowd started to thin, so we decide to head back home. Nezzy sits next to me on the ride home with her little head and her little head rests against me. She holds her arm out vertical next to mine. Coco. Nut. Hmm? Pointing to her arm again, she says, Coco. Then pointing to mine, she says, Nut. See? We're the same color, like the outside of a coconut. The same. We're the same. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. And in this case, I'm overjoyed to be nutty. Why was I ever trying to cover this brown skin?